Welcome to the Scoop. I will be your host today, Brian Greer, and we will be talking about the opening weekend in the NFL. And joining me today is Clifton Foster, a writer for the Scoop. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. Yourself?
Oh, doing good. Yeah, as a fellow Cowboys fan, I'm trying to get over that horrible game. So
Yeah,
uh,
I put that behind me. That was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was, but it's par for the course of the last 15 years. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, I'm getting used to that. But yeah, we'll go ahead and start with the first game we got on our docket here is the defending champs, the Seattle Seahawks, beating the Green Bay Packers 36-16. This game was pretty much, in my opinion, a total domination of the Seattle defense. They were just harassing Aaron Rodgers, making him look very pedestrian. And I had this game pretty much thinking this was going to go the way it was. Richard Sherman didn't even have a pass thrown his way. He had zero, chances to make any kind of plays. I thought that the line for the Seattle Seahawks was incredible. Bruce Irvin and Clemens and all those guys, they were just harassing Aaron Rodgers where he couldn't get anywhere around the field. And I thought that Marshawn Lynch was fantastic. Had over 100 yards, had a
Yep.
couple
Average,
touchdowns. You know,
average
I,
yards to carry.
yes, that was incredible. And Russell Wilson, he is no longer a game manager in my opinion. I think that he really has really taken it to another level where he knows how to make the plays, especially on third down. His option read and just being able to get the ball to Percy Harvin on play fakes and play action is incredible. And I just want to get your thoughts on how you thought that game went.
Oh yeah, I mean it was the Seattle defense was really what came through. You force punts and you go and you set up and you're able to pick up a safety. You're always looking good there. Like you said, Richard Sherman didn't have one target his way, and it's one of those things. You look at him as pure greatness now? Do you look at him as a legend? Which through the first game, if you have a corner that has zero targets on his belt, I mean you can't go wrong there. And then you said Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch was when you average 5.5 yards a carry, especially against a team like Green Bay, who Green Bay's no slouch. It's just that's how much better Seattle is. They came through, they looked it up, and what really cracks me up is Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers' numbers look so similar, but the thing is, obviously, like you said, Wilson came through, and he is no longer, like you said, a game manager. He's now taken the wheels for the bus, and he said, "All right, I'm going to take it through this wall, and we're going to take it to Green Bay and pick up all the cheese we possibly can." And that's
Yeah,
what
I
it was.
agree.
I
Right.
mean,
Yeah,
pick it
he
up.
just takes it. He just seems to really have that, knack for knowing when to, make the play at the right time at the right moment. And like I said, I think he's just taken it to another level. And I saw a lot of people thought that Green Bay could win this game. I didn't understand why because all the players are back for Seattle. They didn't lose anybody in free agency, and also they're still a young team.
Very much.
So kudos to the Seahawks for not going, from that, usually after the Super Bowl winning, having that meltdown the first game or whatever the case may be, they came out looking even stronger than they did last year.
Oh yeah.
So, that went the way I thought so. But anyways, going to the next game, we're going to talk about Miami versus New England. The Dolphins won this game 36 to 33-20, and with Miami, Ryan Tannehill was incredible. No. Moreno had, I think, 143 yards, had a touchdown. He ran with a lot of purpose. He was just incredible. A lot of people didn't have him looking the way he did, coming out this season because of the injury he had last year with Denver. But I thought he was just amazing. And that defense, Cameron Wake for the Dolphins, he was all over Tom Brady. I was very shocked by this outcome because I thought that Brady was going to be able to have his way, but the Dolphins saw otherwise. And Tom Brady was just not comfortable the whole game. In the second half, overthrowing Gronkowski, overthrowing Edelman,
Yeah.
they were just making it very uncomfortable for him. And I thought that this game was going to go a lot different. What did you think about this?
No, I agree. It's Tom Brady was not Tom Brady. His line, it his line didn't let him be Tom Brady. Tom Brady is not a he's not an out of the pocket type of passer. He's not comfortable when he's on the run. And once you set him up and you start flushing him, you can't. He's very, very his accuracy falls, and it falls to a point where he can't do anything. And that's the thing. If you leave Brady in the pocket and he can stay in the pocket, it's all over for you. But the Dolphins were able to control the line of scrimmage. Penalties, penalties. There were only 26 yards of penalties against Miami. When you're rocking out like that and you only have 26 yards, you can't get much better than that. I mean, that's damn near perfect. And then once you set up, it was all Dolphins, all second half. You can't. Tom Brady used to be. I mean, he used to be a second half quarterback. He used to be an all the time quarterback. And I think unfortunately his age is starting to show. All those beautiful young models.
Yeah, I guess all those miles with Giselle are showing up. And I mean, and I wanted to also say about Tom Brady having 56 passes in this game. I thought that was incredibly too many. Their run pass ratio was out of whack this game. They didn't get it to Ridley or to Vereen enough.
And that right there is how you can tell that the Patriots were not controlling what they wanted to control. When Brady has 56 pass attempts and the score is only 33-20, that's unacceptable for a team. You've got to manage your team better, and you've got to manage the clock better.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think that New England will get together, but they're going to have some more issues this year because it's showing up that they're just not the team that they used to be because of free agency, I think.
Yep.
So with that being said, up next we have the Buffalo Bills beating the Chicago Bears in overtime. I think the upset of the day, 23-20. The Buffalo Bills in this game, their defense was just all over Jay Cutler, making him throw off his back foot, what he's known for. Horrible interceptions by him. I don't know what he was thinking on that second interception where it was obvious that he just threw it right into a defensive line with the Buffalo Bills, but that is Jay Cutler and what he's known for. He did go for over 300 yards, but they did not get the ball to Matt Forte enough, I don't believe, to control the clock and try to keep this game. Because in the first half, they were doing that, but they went away from it, trying to throw the deep ball to Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall. They did get a touchdown to Brandon Marshall, but overall, way too many passes for Jay Cutler. They do not seem to understand that when you put it on his shoulders, he's going to lose the game. And I want to give some credit to E.J. Manuel. He did only throw for a little over 100 yards, but he did not make the big mistake or the throw interception or fumble the ball. He got it to C.J. Spiller. He got it to Fred Jackson and, kept the game close and let the defense do what it does because that team really has a really good defense. Mario Williams out there, and their secondary is underrated in my opinion. So I want to give kudos to the Bills for really coming through in this game and, a real shocker because nobody had them winning and, getting an overtime and winning because if E.J. Manuel can just, keep away from making the big mistake, this team will be in it all year.
Yeah, it's this one threw me off. I went back and I looked at the box score, and you run through all the stats. Chicago dominated in everything except where it counts, and that right there shows you that it was all defense for Buffalo, and it's like you said, don't make the big mistake. Take care of business when you need to take care of business, and that's what they did in OT. They let the defense just rock it out, and they forced a punt by Chicago. And I don't think Chicago was ready for that attack in overtime because once they hit it, they were going. And you set it up. Chicago went first. They were unable to capitalize, and once that happens, that gives hope to the Buffalo Bills. And once the Bills have hope, march it down the field, and then it got to the point where they put it in victory formation so that they could put it straight down the pipe to give their kickers the optimal chance to put it in.
Yeah, that was very smart. I mean, it was a clear, no bones about it. Kentucky was going to win the game. It was very smart by them.
Yep, and like you said, they took care of business and they knocked off Chicago in Week 1 in Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. Because the last time the Buffalo Bills were in the playoffs, social media was not a thing. So I'll let you know how long it's been. All right, up next. Exactly. Up next, we got Cincinnati beating the Baltimore Ravens 23-16 in this game. Cincinnati almost blew it once again. They were up big in this game and then allowed Baltimore to get back into it until Andy Dalton actually made a huge throw to the one and only A.J. Green, who just incredible concentration on that ball with catch touchdown. And then how he juked the guy twice to that.
That's unfair.
Oh, it was unfair. I mean, I don't know if the guy's ankle's broken, if we need to pray for him or anything right now, because that was a nasty move he did. Because,
He juked me
uh,
out of my jock.
yeah, exactly. I was on my couch and I got juked. I think my ankles hurt still.
He's like,
So
whoa,
yeah,
whoa.
right, exactly. So yeah, I want to give props to Andy Dalton for that on the road finally coming through with a big win. Uh, the the defense for the Bengals was incredible. They lost Burfict to a concussion in the game, but they did not let that keep them off their game. They were just really good. They kept the Ravens to field goals most of the game.
Yep.
Joe Flacco did throw for a lot of yards, but
Right.
of course with the situation with Ray Rice and everything, they didn't have him, so they have Bernard Pierce back there. Their running game now is going to, I think, be very hurt, and it's going to be on Joe Flacco's arm because it seems that he can throw the deep pass, but consistently throwing that intermediate route, that's going to be a problem.
which is which is kind of weird if you think about it. I mean, Flacco's got a cannon. It's not
Yes,
just
he has one of the strongest arms.
it's like it's the one you put up on a battleship, and you're like, okay, I need you to shoot this about 60 miles, and they're like, okay, done. And that's it. You got Flacco, and that's what he's got. And
That's
so
all he's got. So you need the intermediate game too. It's like all he does is throw that deep route to either now Steve Smith or Torrey Smith, and
Yep.
that is all they have, and defenses know that, so they just play back on him. Now that they don't have Ray Rice, I mean, everybody's just going to sit there and just wait for him to just throw it deep, and then he's prone for the big interception, and he's a big fumbler. This game he didn't do it, but I just think that they had this game and they allowed their defense not as good as it used to be. I thought Terrell Suggs or somebody on that defense should have made a play. But you have AJ Green out there, and Andy Dalton threw it out there for him. There was nothing they could do, and you saw that guy. I think he's in the hospital right now after he juked.
I'm telling you. Well,
Yeah,
they got to make sure his legs aren't shattered.
yeah, exactly. And they didn't even have a good game from Gio Bernard. He wasn't really a big factor in this game. So, yeah, if you're gonna beat the Bengals, you better beat them this way because I think when they're fully hitting on all cylinders on offense, it's gonna be tough to beat this team.
Yeah, which, like you said, I mean, I've got to give props to Andy Dalton as well. He has not been able to come up with a big game. This is a huge rivalry type of game. Baltimore is all over Cincy just about every game, every time they play. But when you have Joe Flacco attempting 62 passes, the Ravens can't win. They've got to have another runner. And, obviously with the Ray Rice situation, that's they just need to get him off the field at any point in time because who knows, he might go and start punching his own lineman.
Yeah, who knows? He seems to be pretty much a deadly weapon now. So they might want to try to pick up somebody off the waiver wire because if they're just going with Bernard Pierce, they will be on the couch once January comes.
Oh yeah, they'll be hitting a lot of golf balls.
Yeah, exactly. So with that being said, up next we got the Philadelphia Eagles beating the Jacksonville Jaguars 34-17. Incredible comeback by the Eagles. As much as I hate to say that, they did score 34 unanswered points. The Jacksonville could not do nothing wrong in the first half. You had Chad Henne out there looking like Dan Marino, just throwing out to Hearns, the rookie who was undrafted and had 2 touchdowns in the first half. Chad Henne just really put this team on his back. It really wasn't his fault for them losing. I just think that it was more of Philadelphia getting their game together in the second half, winning in the second half. And I have to give kudos to Chip Kelly, man, a great halftime adjustment because in the first half Nick Foles was not on his game. He was fumbling the ball all over the place, horrible interception. I mean, the Eagles just looked like 2 different teams. First half couldn't get together. Second half, they came out. Nick Foles was really good in the second half. He got it to Macklin, got it to Darren Sproles, who's going to be a great pickup, I think, for the Eagles, and also for LaShawn McCoy, who we all know is great.
Yeah, it's when you've got LaShawn McCoy in the backfield, it's kind of unfair, but it's I think the real story of this game was that the Jaguars only scored 17 points in that first half when the Eagles were so bad. I mean,
yes, they missed a couple of field goals in that first half. You're right.
Yeah, and once you start losing those opportunities, and the Jaguars, I mean, come on, man, it's Jacksonville. The Jaguars, in every way, shape, and form, they are awful, awful, awful. And like I said, the main story is they only scored 17. If they were a team that was actually firing on all cylinders, that actually had really, really good talent, then it probably would have been a different story. But the Eagles did come back, and like you said, as much as I hate to say it, they did play really well in that second half. They came out and played like they're an actual team, and 420 total yards for them. They definitely LaShawn McCoy is LaShawn McCoy. That's it. That's all you
Yeah.
can do.
Yeah, just to throw it, give it to him, whatever. He's
Yeah.
going to make a play.
Yep.
And that game, like I said, those halftime adjustments that they made, they came out like the team we thought they were. And the Jacksonville came out in the second half and played like the team we thought they were. So hopefully Jacksonville you'll win a game this year because it's looking kind of dim if you can't win when you're up that big.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next we have the Pittsburgh Steelers beating the Cleveland Browns 30-27. This game right here was a tale of two halves, in my opinion. The Steelers in the first half could do no wrong. They were out there kicking the Browns punter in the face. Antonio Brown did a Luke Kane kick in his face. That was incredible. It looked like the Steelers were going to have an easy day. Le'Veon Bell was running like a madman. Big Ben was out there throwing bombs and just getting it to whoever he wanted to. It seemed that this was going to be an easy game. But in the second half, Cleveland almost had a record comeback. I believe they scored something like 24 unanswered points.
Yep.
And this game, Brian Hoyer, got to give him some props. We talk about Johnny Football too much, in my opinion. We got to give Brian Hoyer some props after the halftime coming back and looking like he did because there's not much talent on that team. As much as we talk about Brian Hoyer, what is he really working with? Josh Gordon suspended. They don't have Trent Richardson anymore, who they traded last year.
Yeah.
Ben Tate was actually hurt in this game, so they were out there with their backup, running back, and also their top receivers, Miles Austin. As a Cowboys fan, we definitely know what that's about.
Oh yeah.
So I want to give props to Brian Hoyer for leading them back in the second half. They were just making a real big charge, and I actually thought they were going to make this incredible comeback and win this game. But I got to give props again to Big Ben Roethlisberger. That drive he did to get them in field goal position and win, incredible. Because they were just in disarray most of the second half, but he got it together. And that screwball kick by Sean Sweesom to win the game was, I'm pretty sure Mike Tomlin was glad that went in because of seen a press conference by Mike Tomlin when they lose, but it's pretty tense. So they would have probably been running tires and doing lunges after the game at some high school football field. So
I'm telling you.
Pittsburgh, kudos for you winning that game because it would have been ugly if Mike Tomlin had to see that loss.
And it's, man, like you said, this is a tale of two halves. This is a tale of two different teams, two different halves. I don't think that I think half the Pittsburgh Steelers decided mentally that they were done. When you go up as big as they were, and the thing about it is Cleveland isn't the team that they used to be, where they traded all the players and they didn't care about anything, and they would just let it go by. Now they're a team that wants to win. They've got an owner that wants to get in there and actually break it up and say, "Hey, let's do this. I want to bring home something." I'm sure they want hardware now, but it's Ben, like you said in the first half, the Steelers did exactly what they were supposed to do. They went in, they kicked the crap out of the Browns, and then they just didn't come out. I swear they didn't come out of the locker room into the second half. And when you have to come back to be able to, when you have to finish a drive like that against the Browns, you stopped. And it's not, they didn't give up because they were in the lead. They just said, "Okay, we got this. It's Cleveland. See you guys later."
Right. They just thought same old Cleveland. They realized it's not. This team has got a lot of players that go out there and fight hard and make the best of the situation. Like you said, they don't trade players anymore. They're really trying to go out here and win. And Mike Pettin is going to be a good coach, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Cleveland. He seems to be a no-nonsense guy. This is not just, "Hey, Johnny Football, you just take the keys and let this be a circus," So
I'm glad they didn't. I'm so glad that they didn't give him the ball. He needs to sit down because I don't. We'll get into that later on, but it's
right.
Time for Manziel.
Yeah, exactly. So like I said, give props to Pittsburgh for staying with it and not blowing this big lead. And with that being said, next we have the Atlanta Falcons beating the New Orleans Saints in overtime, which I think was the most exciting game of the day, 37-34. Matt Ryan in this game was out of sight. I think he played the best of anybody this weekend. Threw for over 400 yards, was a franchise record, 4 touchdown passes. Mm-hmm. That second half, he just put the team on his back and said, "Just follow me."
Yep.
getting the ball to, of course, Julio Jones is back from injury, Roddy White. He was just getting it even to Steven Jackson, Jacquizz Rodgers. He,
Yep.
he was a machine. This was all offense. This was not a game where any defense was going to be played.
No, not at all. And it's one of my things was great game. Obviously, like you said, it's the most exciting game. There's over 1,000 total yards combined. Ryan with right at 445 yards. That's disgusting. What are they letting run? How are they letting him throw for over that many yards? And then, do you realize that there were almost 140 total plays in this game?
Wow, that is almost arena football like numbers.
That's
Forget college football. I mean, that game was crazy. Of course, Drew Brees over 300 yards, and Mark Ingram, he was running like he realizes this is his contract year. But touchdown runs he had, he was really just running with a purpose I hadn't seen since he's been in the NFL. I don't know if he had a flashback to Alabama or what, but he was incredible. So this game right here, it seems like every time Atlanta and New Orleans gets together, it's going to be a show, and this definitely was. And I want to give some kudos to Matt Bryan. He is clutch when it comes to making game-winning kicks.
He's definitely come into his own, man. This is crazy, absolutely crazy.
2 back-to-back 50-yard field goals. One to get it into overtime and one to win it in overtime. He was really just, he has ice in his veins when it comes to winning games. He does it seem like every year, 6 or 7 times where he bails out the Falcons. And, I don't know if Rob Ryan is going to, have anything cooked up, because we saw us with the Cowboys when it comes to defense. Because they have Jarius Bird now. They were going to be a juggernaut this year on defense. They were going to be this and that. And all he was doing was pretty much cursing and slapping his pay chart.
There you go.
So, good job, Falcons, for finally seeming to beat New Orleans at home, because it seems like New Orleans always on the winning end of that.
Yep.
So, up next, we got the 49ers beating our beloved Cowboys 28-17. This game right here pretty much goes down to a lot of errors by Tony Romo and the Cowboys, which we've gotten used to. Tony Romo, 3 interceptions in the first half. DeMarco Murray in the first series of the game. Fumbled the ball on a play. I don't know how he fumbled it, and they took it back for a touchdown, the 49ers. This game right here comes down to, I think, the Cowboys just not being mentally prepared this game. It looked like Romo, like we said, me and you had talked about in the preseason, did not play enough.
No, he absolutely did not. And this was not even mentally prepared. They weren't even physically prepared. If you've got players on the sidelines puking up their guts because they don't have enough water, because they're not used to what's going on. And on top of that, they're in a dome. They're inside of it's an air-conditioned dome in there.
Yeah, you had Des Bryant over there needing to get, IVs or whatever, had cramps and dehydrated and all that, running up and down the sideline.
Des Bryant's got to pull off the field because he's dehydrated and has to go get an IV. I mean,
it's embarrassing, honestly.
This was a Dallas Cowboy team that was not prepared to do anything. You got Romo, who, like you said, didn't play enough in the preseason, and that's another thing that I'm really worried about this season is Romo. Did you see those 50-yard passes?
Yeah, those passes were just ducks. They were just up there just for the taking. The one Parrish Cox intercepted, I mean, it was ridiculous.
I mean, they're still hanging out in the air back there at Cowboy Stadium. I could walk over there and pick it up.
Yes, there's no doubt.
There's not enough strength in his arm. I hope that his back is going to get stronger, but at this point in time, I want Brandon Weeden. I'd prefer he come in and I don't care if they go deep at this point, because we can't get Romo to zip a pass in from at 15 yards.
No, I'm not to the point of letting Brandon Weeden in, but if he continues like this, then what's the point? Because this is not about for a show or him with a contract. You need to win games. Jason Garrett needs to win games. If they keep this up, he will be fired during the season.
Exactly.
And the fans will not continue this, because I don't want to hear about San Francisco not scoring in the second half of this game, because they just took the foot off the gas pedal. They were trying not to get injured in the second half.
Yep. And here's the thing: when you're up 21-3, when you're up 14-3, and your offense hasn't had to touch the ball, then obviously the other team is doing something wrong. But it's like you said. I don't want to hear anything about the Niners not scoring in the second half. When you give up the ball as many times as they did, they made Kaepernick look like a pocket passer today or on Sunday.
Yeah, he was stepping up in the pocket. I didn't know if that was Joe Montana there. I had a
Yeah,
flashback because it
it's
was incredible.
stupid. I mean, absolutely stupid. This was a terrible, terrible game by the Dallas Cowboys, and frankly, it was a terrible team or a terrible game by both teams. Really,
Yeah,
the only thing that really came through was 49ers defense. I
yeah,
mean,
the
what are you going
49ers
to do?
defense came through, but as far as the offense, you're right, because Frank Gore only had 60-some yards. It was not a game where they had their power running or any of that. Only player I can say that really was on his game was Vernon Davis. Now, he
Yeah,
was a
oh my
beast.
God. Vernon Davis he's. I wish I would have picked him up in my fantasy draft. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Thanks to my own intellectual ability to know the Cowboys' defense was not going to be good in this game. I know their secondary is pretty pathetic, which they showed. So yeah, this game, like I said, it comes down to the Cowboys' errors.
Oh yeah, and just being terrible. That's the other thing is the 49ers the 49ers offensive line made the Cowboys defensive seven, the front seven, look like they were Pro Bowl. You can't. I mean, come on. You got Butler. You got. It was terrible, 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 terrible game.
And I also want to talk about quickly about DeMarco Murray. He had 22 rushes for 118 yards and a touchdown, but most of that came in the first half. The
Yep.
Cowboys, they're not going to be a running team. I have told people that. If Jason Garrett is going to be the coach, they're not going to run the ball because he should have had over 30 carries this game because that was working.
If he would have had over 30 carries, he would have had close to 200 yards. I mean,
Yes.
he was the offensive line run blocking is so good. And then you put DeMarco Murray in there, who, if you're going to tackle him, you have to want to tackle him. And if you want
Yes.
to tackle him, you are crazy.
Yes. So, when it comes to this team, they're going to always be a pass first team. They're not going to ever just stick to the running game. And people have this to realize that, because this is not an elite offense. I've heard about this, all this talent that they have and everything. If you don't put it in the game and don't show it, then you're not an elite offense. So,
Exactly.
yeah, I guess that's enough of it about that game.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure this will be a common trend on this show.
Oh, yeah.
So, but anyways, next game we've got out here is the Denver Broncos beating the Indianapolis Colts 31-24. This game was also a tale of two halves. In the first half, Peyton Manning out there just throwing bombs to Julius Thomas, who looked like he could not be stopped, and the greatest tight end of all time. 3 touchdown passes. They were just out there just tearing apart the Colts defense. You had, of course, Demaryius Thomas out there, Emmanuel Sanders. Peyton Manning could not be touched in the first half. I don't know if the Colts defense thought it was illegal to touch Peyton Manning, but that first half they were out there just doing whatever they wanted, and of course Manning was looking like Manning. But in that second half, the Colts, in my opinion, just really put it together. Andrew Luck seems to always have a comeback in him, and that game right there really was there for the taking, in my opinion, for the Colts.
It was. What's crazy is when you look at the stat line, Andrew Luck had 100 more yards passing than Peyton Manning, which is
You never see that.
I never see that. But yes, you're exactly right. Julius Thomas was a beastly. I mean, it was just about not fair. But Andrew Luck, he is now the comeback kid. He has to be. And it just the Denver defense was just able to they bent, but they didn't break on that last drive, and that was the key. They were just able to pull it out, and that's got to be heartbreaking for Luck. Luck did a great job, but it comes down to turnovers. Turnovers finally caught up with Andrew Luck because he wasn't able to make it come back. Now, if he didn't have, I believe he had 2 interceptions. It was take one of those away. Take one of them away, and it's a tie ball game.
I agree. Yeah, he did throw for 370 yards, but those 2 interceptions, Andrew Luck in the first half of games, I've noticed has a tendency to put himself in a hole. He's got to eliminate those interceptions because, if you're coming back, there's a reason why. It's great to be a comeback quarterback, but you always want to have the legal in the fourth quarter. And I think they've got to start implementing Trent Richardson. They gave up a lot for him, and it seems that they're not committing to him. They might want to because they gave up a lot. So I just want to know, are the Colts going to ever get any defensive playmakers?
and that's a huge question, man. It's they can't always stick with the offense. It's I feel like that's the same problem that we have over here with the Cowboys. But
Oh yeah, yeah. We don't even talk about the Cowboys defense, but
yeah,
yeah, I think that's the truth. That's a good comparison. I think they have a lot in common with the Cowboys defense. The Colts, they don't have any playmakers on that defense. They just seem to just want to say, Andrew Luck, go out there and win us the game with Reggie Wayne, T.Y. Hilton, and all the core receivers they have. They don't seem to have anything different from last year. They seem to be the exact same team. Get behind and then try to make a miraculous comeback.
yeah. Which don't get me wrong, it's exciting football, but the problem is you don't win Super Bowls like that.
Yeah, you don't. So they've got to do that and get a defense together. But yeah, the Broncos, I want to give kudos to them. Their defense, they did look. And of course, Vomit on the other side, they were very stout. But at the end of the game in the fourth quarter, they did look a little shaky in the secondary. Allowing Luck to get it out to Reggie Wayne and T.Y. Hilton. So if they can shore up that defense and be more consistent at the end of games to make plays, they're going to be probably back, looking to go to the Super Bowl again this year.
Exactly.
So next up, we do have Arizona beating San Diego 18-17 in the Monday Night Football ender. That game right there, to me, was very strange.
Yeah.
San Diego had this game won, in my opinion. They allowed Arizona to get back and win this game with all of their miscues, penalties.
Yep.
It was just the same old San Diego. They looked great in the first half, and then the second half they just squandered the lead, and I think allowed Arizona to score the last 11 points.
Yep.
Carson Palmer was not very good in this game. Basically, I think that San Diego's their penalties and turnovers and everything just allowed Arizona back in this game.
Yeah, and it's you look at the stat line, and I mean these are two not very good teams that I mean it was really hard, it was really tough to watch. Philip Rivers can sling the ball. He can throw. He's not very good outside the pocket, but he can throw and he can take care of business. Typically the way he's supposed to. Part of it is first downs. Arizona finished up with 22 first downs to 15 for San Diego. And when you are able to continue a drive and keep it going, and I guarantee that almost that close to half of those came in the fourth quarter because they had to sustain the drives, they had to finish it up, and when you put together a comeback with 2:25 left in the game, I mean it's always good. But we were talking before we started, and San Diego, they essentially grabbed their foot and put a shotgun to it and blew it off, picking up the penalties at the end of the fourth, or typically near the fourth quarter, middle of it, because they had a drive going. They were rocking. They were moving down the field. They were within field goal range. You pick up a stupid penalty, and then you're knocked out of it, and then you have to punt. So,
Yes.
I mean, it's one of those where it's their own fault, and on top of that, you let the Arizona Cardinals pick up 403 total yards. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and they really don't have much of a running game. So for them to allow that to happen, and they got that with Larry Fitzgerald only getting one catch for 22 yards.
Yeah, which you typically that's where you want to set up Fitzgerald is rolling out, pick him up in the flat, pick him out coming across. You can hit him on the seam. That's where Fitzgerald is dangerous. But you put him behind a line, a very mediocre Arizona line, and that's
Very mediocre.
what are you going to do? I mean, he can't do his running back duties. He's going to have to. He just about has to sit back and block. So
Yeah, exactly. And I do want to get to it with my catch for 119 yards. But I want to talk about San Diego not getting the ball to Ryan Matthews. That's a
no,
top-notch running back. They only gave him
yes.
12 carries for 40 yards.
Well, I mean, it's
I don't understand that.
even then you're still averaging over 3 yards a carry. I mean, it's how are you
Yeah.
going?
Give
What are
him
you
more
doing?
touches. I mean, I know Philip Rivers can throw the ball and all of that, but at the same time, you need to be running the ball. Ryan Matthews showed last year he can carry the load. So that fourth quarter, I thought that they gave him a lot more opportunities to make plays because this game is basically on San Diego just losing, in my opinion.
Oh, I completely agree. I feel like they handed this one over, especially like I said, especially in the fourth, when you're when you hold them to just field goals, and you are the one that's scoring touchdowns in the third quarter, you should be able to finish it up.
Yes, and that's something that I think San Diego has to improve on because they seem to have a knack for always making the errors at the end of the game to allow teams to win, and they
Yep.
seem to have a mentality of playing not to lose instead of playing to win.
Which is terrible. You can't go into a football game. Every football game is incredibly important. You've only got 17 weeks to figure out what you're going to be, and once that happens, once that's up, that's up.
Yeah, I agree with that. So yeah, hopefully San Diego does get it together and allows Ryan Matthews to do his thing because if they don't, with that division there in the AFC, it's going to be a long year and they will be losing more games in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
All right, well that will do it for this show. You have any closing remarks for us, Cliff?
No, man, I'm really appreciative that you let me come on. I know I know we had some technology issues, which is always exciting.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm
With a bunch of
always
laptops, figure it
yeah,
out.
exactly. I'm always in the caveman years, and I got to get it together when it comes to that. So yeah, hopefully next time we won't have that.
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah, with that being said, want to thank you, like I said, Cliff, for being on the show today. And you can catch this show on thescoopzone.com. Also, follow us on Twitter at tweetthescoop. Also, this will be on our Google Plus page and YouTube at the Scoop. And I am your host, Bryan Greer. And we will be back next week for week 2 of the NFL season with a recap. Take it easy.